Hello there! For a while now I wanted to make an Obsession build, but unfortunately I didn't have much success with it, as the Obsession reduces your hull and shield based on the amount of wild mods that you have, making things rather difficult if you plan on taking a lot of wild mods, which I would want to do. So for today we are going to try a Rampage build with the Obsession, simply because Rampage increase your maximum hull and shield by 3%, while the Obsession reduces it by 1.25, I believe. So in theory you should be gaining health overall, rather than reducing it with the Obsession. But we'll see how it goes. As you can see, I picked the Hullbreaker body. The weapon is inconsequential really, because we are going to go for a crash build. But the split shot seemed to be the best option of the ones that I had available. Unfortunately, no flag. And we also picked the amp shield, because as we all know, red goes faster and your crash damage depends on your velocity. This is a post commentary because there were a lot of attempts at this build and I didn't really want to talk about the same thing over and over and over again. So I decided to just record the footage and make a commentary later. As you can see, the split shot is not amazing, but we already have taken some defensive mods for the hull, and we were lucky enough to get Defiance as well. I nearly died right there, which would not be the first time in those attempts. Yeah, like you can see there, the hull tree is pretty much complete. We are taking the rapid regeneration here. Skirmish obviously is a must-have because it increases the crash damage and it unlocks Terminate and Blitz. And here we have both Terminate and Blitz. We are going to pick Terminate. It is the better option at first, I think, especially since we are mostly doing damage with the weapon for the moment. And there's the Blitz as well. I was considering whether to take the thrusters already, since it does improve our crash damage. But the Blitz is the better option for the moment, as we mostly will be crashing to the enemies that are at full health, so it's just a straight 20% damage increase. This hive enemy have to be one of the worst ones to get early on. Have a lot of health, spawns those, I forget how they're called, but those enemies that shoot split projectiles. They are very dangerous early on. Actually, they are very dangerous later on as well. Here we get the first Rampage. Unfortunately, we didn't get Obsession straight away. While Juggernaut decreases our thrust, it does increase the crash damage. I think overall it's a net positive in terms of damage. It also increases our health and indirectly the regeneration, which is great. Here we get the revelation. There was nothing really interesting in those upgrades before. But we will definitely make a good use of that revelation. I wasted a lot of time there by not going inside straight away and crashing into those nodes. Not sure what I was trying to do. But you can pretty much kill the Omega Station in the first cycle if you just go straight for the nodes. We won't be taking Slipstream, but we'll definitely take the efficiency, as once we get rid of a weapon, it's simply a 20% increase to our regeneration rate, and we will definitely need it. Channeling is another great upgrade for the regeneration and generally the defenses. Since we will be generating a lot of stacks with crashing, it's pretty much a must-have. Unless you are going for the essence sub, which can be very good even in the crash build, but I would not recommend taking it very early on, as you are just not resistant enough to support the essence sub. Because you'll be most likely taking more damage than you can heal. And of course, regeneration is generally the safer option for the healing. As you can see, our clear speed is really bad, because we have that split shot. And our crash is not really there yet to serve as our main weapon. It is really preferable to get the flag. But since you don't want to waste rerolls on a weapon that you're going to ditch anyway, Here we have Obsession, finally. And from now on, we are going to start taking a lot of wild mods. Here we just took 4 defiances. This Obsession unfortunately doesn't double every single one of the wild mods that you take from Revelation, just the first one. And it's still good for Obsessions, but 6 would be better. Here's another Rampage. And here I'm checking the health, and as you can see it does go up when I take Rampage. It was a rather small increase of 3 health, I believe, but it is better than losing health. So pretty much a Rampage build is a safe option for the Obsession. Here we are going to take the Discord simply because we want some additional source of damage that doesn't involve us crashing into things. This will be good for clearing mines and whatnot. And since we are taking a lot of wild mods, there will be a lot of Discord orbs available to us. Didn't really have anything good there. Deadly Wake is another of those mods that allows us to clear some enemies without hitting them, and as we will be speeding through the screen like that, we are basically leaving a line of burn behind us. And most of the small enemies that fly through it just burn to death. Nothing to take here, this will be a reroll. We're starting to run short on them. Here we get the Phantom Strike, that is a 25% crash damage. It does that teleport as well if the enemy survives, which is not great, I suppose. It can teleport you into some really bad situations. But that 25% crash damage is well worth it. As you can see, it's already impossible for us to stop, and we are constantly flying at a pretty high speed, even without holding the thrust button. Here's another Rampage. Here we might want to take the adrenal module. We are mostly going to be staying at full health because of the regeneration, but it is a crash build, so our health will be fluctuating, and the lower we get, the higher our damage should be. Here we finally take the hidden power, increasing our global damage by 50% and getting rid of the weapon that was already pretty much useless anyway. Okay, here's the Warbringer, and now he's gone. Stabilization is something that will allow us to pretty much just slow down when we need to. Kinetic boost is another global damage increase that depends on the speed, and we are obviously speeding away all the time. Here with the Celestial Lance, I thought that it would be a really bad choice, simply because it does ramping up damage the longer you stay at high speeds. But after talking with Vogelspin on Discord, it turned out that Celestial Lance loses its ramping up damage as soon as you change the speed, and you don't really have to slow down. Even if you increase your speed, the ramping up stops and resets basically. So by all means the Celestial Lance is a viable option for this build, and it will help you with clearing mines and some of the smaller enemies that are harder to hit. Here we take another Rampage. Our health is still increasing, not by much. I believe that later on we start losing health from the Obsession. So I'm not sure how the calculations work there exactly. I suppose the Rampage increases your hull based on your base hull. Meanwhile, the Obsession decreases your hull from the total amount that you have. So sooner or later you will start seeing degradation in your hull. Also another thing that playing a crash build with mouse is pretty difficult, since you cannot control your ship, or you can't really stay your ship in one position, because once you warp, your ship always will turn a little bit to the cursor. So I would recommend playing either with a controller or on the keyboard if you want to go for a crash build. It does make controlling your ship a little bit easier. Here again I'm thinking about the Celestial Lance, but I won't be taking it. Strafe is a nice mod because it allows you to go to the maximum speed with just a forward strafe. So you don't need that run up before you reach your maximum potential damage. And it also does allow you to do side strafes to correct your curse a little bit. Here the game really wants to sell me the Apotheosis, which for obvious reason is a terrible choice. Again, that Celestial Lance. You can take it, you can leave it. It should make things a bit easier. So remember to change your speed every now and then to reset the ramp up on self-damage. Unfortunately, at this speed, the Discord orbs aren't really doing much. They're just lagging behind and teleporting. But we do have some additional source of damage whenever we decide to slow down for a moment. Also, I think that the orbs that are lagging behind will hit targets if they collide with them. Not that it really matters much, because if you manage to fly through something, it's most likely dead already. At this point we are basically fishing for more Rampage, more Defiance. Because there's not much else that we would want. A Scorching Quake might be a decent option. But ultimately we are already leaving a trail of Deadly Wake behind. So the Scorching Quake won't be really necessary. Hypermetabolism, again, it's a pretty good upgrade, increasing your regeneration at the cost of reserved health. I'm not sure if I picked it. I think I didn't, because that would mean that we get 2 hypermetabolisms. That's 30% of reserved health. I felt that was a bit much, since that would reduce our health quite significantly, even though it would increase our damage from the Adrenal module. So here what you would want to do is either get the Ataraxia and then burn your rerolls, trying to get more Rampage, more Defiance, since a single Rampage upgrade will give you more stats than the Ataraxia would, and we are taking 2 Rampage mods every time because of the Obsession. So it's a 14% global damage increase over the 5% from the Ataraxia. But if you have no rerolls and you are sitting on 4 or more upgrades and have nothing to pick, then by all means Ataraxia is a very good choice there. You are pretty much just turning those otherwise useless upgrades into a little bit more of damage and hull. I think I maybe take 1 or 2 wild modes and then just leave everything else for Ataraxia. So this is pretty much the complete build already. Now it's only a matter of surviving as long as you can. Okay guys, and because I am being constantly harassed and rudely interrupted by some people calling and sending me messages, I am going to basically end the commentary here and I don't know, maybe try to be social or something like that. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the run and see you guys later.